Imagine standing on the edge of a quiet summer lake and seeing a chain door floating in the middle of the water. At first, you think it's just some old junk, but by the third night, the chains are gone, the door is open, and the first camper has vanished without a sound. Over the next 3 days, more disappear dragged into something that isn't part of this world. When the bodies return, they're dripping with salt water and staring at the sky, eyes wide open, like they've seen something we were never meant to see. This is the story of what happened at Camp Stillwater and why no one goes near that lake anymore. The lake at Camp Stillwater had always been quiet in the mornings. Mist rolled across the surface like a living thing, swallowing the wooden dock and the canoes tied to it. From the counselor's cabin, Luke could see the water, silver under the first week light. He was sipping burnt coffee when he noticed something new, a dark shape floating far from shore. At first, he thought it was driftwood, but it was too perfect, too rectangular. He squinted, stepping closer to the window, and saw it clearly. A door. An actual door, complete with hinges, a knob, and rusted metal straps bolted across its frame. Chains wrapped around it, crisscrossing like someone had tried hard to keep it shut. It was too far out to make sense of the details, but something about it unsettled him. By the time breakfast rolled around, the other counselors were too busy wrangling the campers to notice anything unusual. Luke brought it up anyway. "Anyone see the door in the lake?" They laughed. "Door? What, like a magical wardrobe?" Ryan, the lifeguard, grinned and shook his head. "Man, you've been breathing too much cabin dust." But later, when Luke led his group to the dock for canoe practice, there it was again, drifting but never moving closer or further from shore. The kids noticed it this time. "What's that?" asked Maddie, one of the older campers, pointing. "Looks like garbage," Luke said quickly. "Stay away from it." He didn't like the way the kids stared at it, as if it were calling to them. That night, he couldn't sleep. The moon was high, and the lake reflected it perfectly. From the counselor's porch, he could still make out the shape of the door, just a faint outline in the silver water. He told himself it was nothing. Just some old junk washed in from the river. 2 days later, the first kid went missing. His name was Connor, a quiet 12-year-old who had a habit of wandering off during free time. They found his sneaker on the dock, the laces wet and frayed. The search lasted until dark, flashlights sweeping the shore. The police came, but the lake was deep, and they found nothing. That night, Luke sat by the water alone. The door was still there, chains glinting faintly. He thought just for a second that he saw it move. Not drifting, breathing. By morning, the camp was tense. The kids whispered about Connor, their voices carrying through the mess hall. The counselors tried to keep things light, but the parents began calling, worried. Luke couldn't stop thinking about the door. He borrowed binoculars from the supply shed and stood at the dock, focusing on it. Up close, the details were worse than he expected. The chains weren't just rusted, they were bent, like something inside had been pushing against them. The wood was swollen and wet, black mold curling along the edges. The knob was brass, green with age, but the center looked warm, like it had been touched recently. He lowered the binoculars quickly, heart hammering. That evening, he spotted Ryan, the lifeguard, paddling a canoe toward the thing. "Hey," Luke shouted, running down the dock. "Leave it alone." Ryan just laughed, his voice carrying over the water. "I'm just gonna see what it is. Maybe I can pull it in." His sentence cut off. He froze mid-paddle. Luke saw it too. The chains were moving, slowly, like they were uncoiling themselves. One by one, they slipped into the lake with soft splashes. The door shuddered, then swung open. There was nothing behind it, no frame, no wood, just black. Ryan dropped the paddle. He leaned forward in the canoe, staring into that dark space. "Ryan," Luke's voice cracked. "Back up." The canoe tipped violently. Something pulled Ryan into the water, quick and silent, like a hand yanking him under. There was no splash, no struggle, just empty ripples. The canoe drifted back to shore hours later. Ryan wasn't in it. By now, the camp was in chaos. The police searched again. The door was gone. For 2 days, things were quiet. Parents arrived to pull their kids from camp early. Luke stayed, uneasy, feeling like the lake was watching him. Then, early on the third morning, Maddie came running to his cabin. She was pale, shaking. "It's back," she whispered. Luke followed her to the dock. There it was, floating exactly where it had been before, only this time the door stood open. Inside, something shimmered faintly, like moonlight on the ocean, but the smell wasn't right. It was salt and decay. The door stayed open all that day. No one went near it, but the kids wouldn't stop watching from the shore. Luke caught one boy, Evan, wading into the shallows, his eyes glassy. Luke grabbed him and shook him hard. "What were you doing?" Evan blinked slowly. "It was calling me," he said. That night, the rain came. A hard pounding storm that rattled the cabins. Luke woke to the sound of screaming. He ran outside to see campers pointing at the lake. Bodies were floating towards shore. They pulled them out one by one. Connor, Ryan, and 3 kids who had vanished in the storm. All of them dripping with thick, cold slime that smelled like the ocean. Their eyes were open, staring at the sky, unblinking. When Luke touched one of their hands, it was warm, but their chests didn't rise or fall. The sheriff wanted the camp closed immediately. Parents arrived in the dead of night, stuffing kids into cars. By morning, Camp Stillwater was empty. Luke stayed behind against orders. He couldn't leave it, not without knowing. The lake was calm now. The door was closer to shore than ever, rocking gently. Luke walked down the dock, each step feeling heavier. He could hear something, a low hum, like deep whale song. The open door seemed deeper than it should be, its darkness shifting, folding in on itself. Without meaning to, he stepped into a canoe and began to paddle. The water thickened under him, slowing the boat. His head was pounding. The hum grew louder, almost a voice now. When he reached the door, he looked inside. It wasn't empty anymore. There was water on the other side, but it wasn't this lake. It was an ocean under black skies, waves that moved wrong, curling upward like claws. Far below the surface, something massive was moving, its shape impossible to understand, but its eyes. They saw him. The canoe lurched. Luke felt something wrap around his ankle, cold and strong. He grabbed the edge of the doorframe, but his hands slipped on the slime. He had time for one breath before he was pulled through. The lake was still the next morning. The door floated quietly, chained shut again. Luke's cabin was empty.